Hi and welcome back to the Tech Mentor. In today's tutorial I will show you how you can create your own custom functions in Microsoft Excel using VBA. Let's get into it. So I'll start this tutorial out with just a very basic custom function. So what we've got here is just a little quotation form, and you've got a discount column here, and you want to basically give discounts on quantities of more than 100 of 10% discount. So I've got it in as a normal formula now, basically just saying if this is more than or equal to 100, it would basically apply 10% discount. But let's create our own custom function to do this. So we'll have to access the VBE, the Visual Basics editor. You can do that by either pressing Alt F11, or we can just customize the ribbon here. We'll reveal the developer tab, and then on the developer tab we'll go to Visual Basic here. Now we need to insert a new module, so we can either go insert module there, or we can click on this little down arrow and click on module. Now to define a function in Visual Basic, we just started with function. We give the function a name, I'll just say discount, and then we give the parameters of the function, so what we will enter into the function first. So I will have quantity, rate, benchmark, so what would the quantity need to be, and discount. I'll just put discount like that. Okay, then as you can see, it automatically gives you end function. So function starts with function and it closes with end function. Now I like to just tab to just make my code look a little bit better and easier to read. And then we will basically just say if quantity, which is our first parameter here, if quantity is greater than or equal to the benchmark, then, so you always put the then in the same line, then what would the discount be? So then the discount would be equal to the quantity times the rate, which is the unit price, times the discount, whatever percentage you put in. Okay, then we'll put another argument here, else. So if it's that, then that. If not, what would be the other alternative? Let me just add that a bit. Else discount equals 0. And then we need to end if. So to go back, I'll just say shift tab and I'll say end if. Now I want to round the discount as well. So I'll just say discount equals. So if you refer to a function in Excel itself, you always have to say application dot, and then you put, so we'll use the round function here. So application dot round would refer to your round function. It would be discount to 2 decimals. And that's it. Now you can literally just close here. And let's do it on this one. It is already higher than 100, so it should apply it here. So now we can just say equals discount. You'll see it's there. And then we know that our first parameter is our quantity, which is that cell. Then the next one is our rate, which is that one. What would be the benchmark? The benchmark needs to be 100 or more, or whatever your benchmark is. And then what is the discount? The discount is 10%. You can either type it in like that, 10%, or you can say 0.1. But I'll just say 10%, close our brackets, and there we go. So say we wanted to make the benchmark 150, and we want to make the discount 7.5%, for instance. So it still applies, but if we were to now put it there, the quantity is only 30, it's not going to apply there. Let's make it 150, and it applies that discount as per the parameters here, 149, and it doesn't. And that's how you can quickly make a simple function. So let's do one that's a little bit more tricky. So on this sheet here, I've basically got a little price grid that works in millimeters. Sorry, where I'm from, we use the metric system. So it works in millimeters of size of, let's just call it window shutters, a width and a drop or height of this shutter. You have user sizes here, and it needs to calculate the price based on this. Now the trick here is it does not work on square meters. It has to work on a specific width and a specific drop. That's why we use a price matrix here. And it also needs to round it up to the next 100 millimeters. So for instance, this one here would be a width of 600 and it would be a height of 500. So it needs to give us that price. So if you were to use a normal formula, you will use the index. So index will give you a cell at the intersection of a specific column number in a range and row number in a range. In this case, this would be the intersection. It needs to give us the value there. But it gets more complicated. You need to use the X match. Your first X match will give you your row number. So what the X match does, it takes the user input, it would round it up to the next number in the range and then supply you with that as the row number. And the second X match does the same but with the column number. But now we need to put this into our own user-defined function, our own little custom function. If you want to learn more about these types of functions, you can have a look at my 4-hour course on my channel on Excel functions. This is specifically one that I have in there. But let's do this as a custom function. I did put the formula to use in here. So again, we can just go to the Visual Basic editor and we'll just start a new one here. So we'll say function, and I will call this one matrix, just so it's price matrix. So it needs to work on the table, which is the range. We need to give it the width range, and the height range. So this would be the user input of the width. This would be the range where it would find that column number. This would be the user input for the height, and the height where it would find the range where it would find that row number. Okay, and then we'll simply just start saying, yeah. So what we need to do here, we basically need to let this, we need to say that matrix equals this formula. So we'll need to basically copy this in a way that Visual Basic will understand it. So we'll say, we start with index. So we'll say application.index, application.index. So there we start our formula. So the first thing in an index function is your array or your range, which in this case would be the table entry that we've put in here. Then we do our X matches. So it would be application.x match. The X match would work on the height first, even though it's not the height here. This doesn't matter. This will have to be exactly like the formula. So it would be the height first, then the height range, and then 1. So 1 would be rounding it up to the next higher number in the range. Okay, so that would be your X match. We close it off with a bracket there. Then you need to find your column number. So that's where your second X match come in. So application.x match. Now we do our width range, and round it up again. We close the brackets, make sure that the bracket for index is closed and the bracket for the second X match is closed. And now we can just leave it as is, but I'm going to add to this. So let's just close here. Now the answer there was 987. So let's use this with our matrix. So we'll say matrix. Remember, we've got our table, which is there. I'm just going to make these absolute references. So we've got our table. Then the next one would be our width. So where's our width? Our width is that cell there. Our width range is this here. Again, absolute reference. Then our height and our height range. Absolute reference again. Let's close our brackets. And there we go, 987. So let's just copy this formula here and we can just drag it down. Okay, now what if we drag it down and there's no inputs here? Then obviously it would give us an error message. So let's go adjust this function. So we'll just go back here. Let's go adjust this. So we've already said what it should be, but let's change things a bit here. Let's start with if. So I'll just take that away there. So we'll say if the width, so the entry for width is 0, then next line, matrix equals blank. Okay, just like that. Else, if our height is 0, then matrix equals blank. And then else, now we are here where we want to be. So first it would see if the width is 0, it would give blank. If the height is 0, it would give blank. If those two are both filled in, then it would apply the actual formula. Now, very important, we need to end this if. So we'll say end if, and we need to end that if. So that is always why I like to space it out so that I can see I've started an if there, I need to end it. I started an if there, I need to end it. And then we end the function. Okay, so we can just literally close here, and now we pull it down and you can see. Okay, so let's just get some random numbers. So let me just copy this and paste the formula only. Let me just get some random numbers. So I'll put limitations here so that you can't put anything under 50 or above 800. So let's just get some random numbers here. We'll just say rand between 50 and 800. Let's just copy this. See, I've put something in by width, but there's nothing by height, so the function that we've created is not going to give us any values. And let's just paste that there. I just want to leave it as values. And now it's worked out. So let's just test some of them. We can do this one here. So we've got 412, which should go up to 500. And we've got 590, which should go up to 600. So on the intersection, it's 918. Let's see this one here. 440, which should go up to 500, and 317, which should go up to 400. Again, 787. Okay, so we know that that function works. A little trick that you can do, I've put this here as your formula to use for this one. You can copy this. You can go here. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Let's just put it here. And as soon as you put that apostrophe there, and we space now, we can enter now, you'll see that it highlights it green. So this, as long as you've got that apostrophe there, it will not do anything with the code here. So this is just a text that you can add to make things easier for yourself. So whenever you start a function, you don't have to go in and out. Just copy your formula, put it like this, and then you can basically see. So we started with index. The next thing is our range, in this case table. Next is our X-match. Our X-match has the height input, which is the cell. It's got the range, and it rounds it up to the next highest number, and the same with the column width. And there we go. And then lastly, I've got another one, but this one I'm not going to show you the function. I want you to I want you to actually create this custom function by yourself. I do show you the formula that is used. So in Excel, to get a weekday of a specific date, you have to combine the choose and the weekday functions. Okay, so let me just show you what the weekday function does. So if I just say weekday, you choose the date, and then you choose which one. So depending on where you are, where I am, our week starts on Monday and ends on Sunday. So I would choose number 2 there. So I would say 2. So if you just do this, it just gives you a value. So it basically says 3, meaning Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday would be number 3. That's why you have to add choose to it, because choose you have to give the options, but you have to physically type in the options to give it. That's number 1, that's number 2, that's number 3. So I want you to create a function that can just simply reveal the day of the week for the specific thing. I'm going to show you the one that I have created by just typing it in here, but I'm not going to show you how I did it. Just see if you can get it right yourself. So the one I created, I just called weekday name. Simply click on the date, close your brackets, and it would show you that it's a Wednesday. And all of these. So we can just quickly check one. let's just check 8th of June 2024. We'll go to our calendar year. We'll go to 2024 to June to the 8th is a Saturday, and it's a Saturday. Okay, so now the last thing, if you were to exit this workbook now, you won't be able to access this function in these functions that you've created in another workbook. It stays in this workbook. So when you want to save this, it's going to tell you that there is a VB project here. So you can either save it, but that means that you'll have to have this workbook open every time you need to use these functions. But I'm going to show you how you can save the functions and add it as an Excel add-in so you can always access them. So we'll go to File, Save As, and then we'll just call this My Functions, and you'll choose Excel Add-in, and then just save that. Okay, so now that's saved. I'm going to let me copy this here. Let's go to book 1 here. Just paste that in there. And then I'll close this. And then let's go to the developer tab. We'll go to Excel add-ins, and you'll see My Functions is here. You'll just click on that, say OK, and now the function that you created is here, and you can just use it on any workbook that you open. And guys, that's how you create your own custom functions in Excel. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to give my channel some love by subscribing and liking my videos and sharing, giving comments, and please look out for the next ones. Thank you guys so much for watching.